Hello everyone, welcome back my channel.
Gone with the Wind star fell into darkness before mental breakdown. Author Vivien Leigh skyrocketed to fame as Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, but just a few years later, she found herself in a mental institution. The two-time Oscar winner's tumultuous life is the subject of a new book by Lindsay Spence, Where Madness Lies. It details Leigh's struggles with mental illness, which resulted in a breakdown, as well as her turbulent marriage to actor Laurence Olivier. Leigh passed away in 1967 at age 53 from tuberculosis. James Dean was blackmailed by a desperate lover who could have destroyed his career. Book Spence told Fox News Digital that the late star's extensive archives, as well as letters and audio recordings from those who knew Leigh, detailed how she fell into darkness. There are other books where they simply say she did movies, and then she went crazy, or she was very promiscuous, or she was beating people up behind the scenes, Spence explained. I wanted to tap into her story as somebody who was mentally ill and the draconian treatments she endured. Leigh was filming 1954's Elephant Walk in Sri Lanka when she frequently began sending Olivier erratic postcards, Spence claimed. The couple married in 1940. They didn't realize it at the time when this darkness or mania took over, said Spence. Her handwriting changed, and she would scribble all of these erratic postcards and letters. She was desperate for Laurence Olivier to join her. She would write him things like, "Bring me my evening dresses," said Spence. Just trivial things. But he wasn't at their home in England. He was in Italy with his mistress, so he wasn't getting her postcards. And because he wasn't responding, I think it made everything 10 times worse, because she felt neglected and alone. The marriage, plagued by Olivier's infidelity and Leigh's struggles with bipolar disorder, was already deteriorating when she became infatuated with Peter Finch, her co-star and husband's protege. According to the book, she would often confuse Finch with her husband, calling him Larry and pleading with him to sleep with her. He consented to her wishes. Click here to sign up for the entertainment newsletter. I think Peter Finch was equally broken as Vivien, said Spence. He was a very hard drinker and a womanizer. He said he believed in Buddhism, but his lifestyle certainly didn't portray that. He had this great complex that he was never good enough. When he and Vivien were on Elephant Walk, they were on the same wavelength. But I think Vivien's intensity scared Peter Finch. That's what pushed him away. Meanwhile, Leigh was taunted by her demons. She's going through something where her brain just can't kick into gear, said Spence. She can't go over her lines. She's confrontational. She's drinking a lot and hallucinating. People just thought she was nuts and she was a drunk. But she was going through a mental breakdown. Her bipolar illness was starting to reveal itself. According to the book, things worsened when the film production moved to Hollywood. On the flight back to Los Angeles, Leigh suffered a spectacular breakdown, said Spence. Watch, Gone with the Wind star fell into darkness before breakdown. Author, she tried to escape, Spence shared. She tried to rip her clothes off. She thought the plane was on fire. She had to be sedated. And when she got to Hollywood, she just couldn't perform the way they wanted her to in front of the camera. She thought she was in 1951's A Streetcar Named Desire, and she was saying all kinds of mad things. Leigh was replaced by Elizabeth Taylor. But her troubles didn't end there. She was discarded to a Hollywood bungalow on her own with an old boyfriend who was a diagnosed schizophrenic, said Spence. So, you have these two people feeding off each other and, more or less, all hell broke loose. Olivier brought her back to England, and he committed her there. Olivier dropped Leigh off at Northern Asylum. There, she was fed by tubes, induced into a coma, given daily ice baths, and mummified in damp sheets to keep her nervous system sedated, the book reveals. She also received shocks of electroconvulsive therapy. Each day was like the next. Leigh would demand the nurses to call Olivier so he could take her home. But the book notes there was no address for Larry. Meanwhile, Olivier wrestled with his guilt. But he had reached a breaking point. When Olivier wondered when his wife had first gone mad, he thought of 1937 when they were performing Hamlet. At the time, the pair, both married to other spouses, embarked on an affair. The production was tense as many felt that Leigh was a weak actress in comparison to her leading man. He remembered that something triggered her in the dressing room, said Spence. She started screaming and hitting him. He described it as demonic. He was frightened by that. But he didn't see Moo.